Do you want to learn how to build a custom connector in UiPath? If so, then this video is for you. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a custom connector using OAuth 2 connection. I recently had a use case which was pretty cool, and the connection itself, the building itself was not that easy, so I wanted to create a video to help the community. And what I wanted is to get from the Amazon advertisement, I wanted to get an option to create these search-term reports via an API. So there is an explanation on how to use the API. There is a definition, which is really cool. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Okay. So first, you see that I already have it, but I'm going to create it from scratch. So first, we're going to go to our orchestrator. We're going to go to integration service, and then we are going to click on connections. So from connections, we have an option to click on connection builder. We're going to click there, and then we are going to select create new connection. So we have two options. We have the option to start from an API description, and we have an option to start from a blank connector. So for now, we are going to start from an API description or definition, and we are going to choose from URL. So you can also export something from Postman or similar stuff and import it in here. But for now, we're going to use the URL. So in here on this URL, so advertisement.amazon.com/API docs, etc., we have all the definitions. So you can see that we have the Open API download directory, and we can see that we have a lot of resources. So we have accounts, we have reporting, we have sponsored product, similar stuff. We are going to get this one, so reporting, because we need to define what kind of report we want and define that. So we're going to click on this one, and we are going to get the ID. So I'm just going to get this link, which is the API definition basically, and I'm going to paste it in here. Clicking on continue, UiPath will automatically pull the data, and you can see that we have three actions, three operations. So get by ID the report that we generated, create a report, or delete a report. So we're going to select all of them, and we're just going to change the name of the connection. So we're going to call it Amazon Advertisement SP Report 2. Let's call it 2 because I think that my name is either 1 or 2. And we can see, we can put in the description, such as something like the connection is going to allow us to use API to generate search term reports. So whoever uses the Amazon advertisement know what I'm talking about. We can also put the icon, that's like, it doesn't matter right now. And we're going to click create. So why am I doing this? Why I'm not just using an API? The reason is that the API itself, it has an access token that is expiring after 60 minutes, pardon. So that is a problem, and we could run and use the API like HTTPS activities in UiPath directly, but that means that we would have to create some kind of a retry mechanism where if it is unauthorized, then we are going to ping it, then get the access token, and then use that access token in future calls. So with the integration service connection builder, that refresh mechanism is going to be automatic. So similarly, how you are automatically connected to a Google Sheet, because the Google activities, they also need a refresh mechanism. So similarly, you're going to have that pooling based on the definition that you provide. So the base API is going to be something like this. So API, the base, and I mean, it's not a point of, it's not a video tutorial how to connect to Amazon advertisement, but how to connect it. So some steps I'm going to go through really quickly. So this is going to be our base API. We're going to click save, And the first thing that we need to do is to go to the authentication. So we have a lot of options. So you can see we have the OAuth 2 authentication, the client credentials, basic, API key, custom if something isn't there already. So in our case, we're going to select OAuth 2 authorization code. And you can see that there is a lot of information. So we have the client ID, the client secret, the scope, authorization URL, token, refresh token URL. So a lot of information is needed. And you can see that in here we have the refresh mechanism, the refresh interval. That is the pooling interval when the UiPath is going to get us a new access token, which is really important. And this, for example, for Amazon API, so Amazon Advertisement API, this callback URL is really important, because if you go to the developer console, there is a place where you can put in the allowed callback URLs. So it's important that you put this URL there or it won't work. Okay, so now I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to fill out this information and I'm going to try to connect to the API. Okay, so now I have filled out all of the necessary information. I'm going to try to connect it. So if I have set up everything correctly, it is going to ask me to log into my Amazon advertisement account. And so you can see that I'm using LastPass, so my password is going to be automatically filled out, as well as the OTP token. If you don't know what LastPass is, feel free to reach out and I'll explain. It's a really cool tool. So now, hopefully okay. So now you can see that we have an access token and we have a refresh token. And this is going to help us maintain that connection. Uh, each time that you call an API action from using this activity package, the UiPath connection builder or connection is going to pass this access token as well. And you will see that on one of the cases that I'm going to explain to you. So let's minimize this one. We can go to APIs and we can check something. So let's say that we want to generate an activity for this post report. So we want to request a report through an activity. Something really cool is this activity designer, and once you ping it, once you send request, and once you get the response back, you can basically select what are the fields that you want to be shown in the activity. So this is how our activity is going to look like. I'm going to change the name to, for example, generate report. This activity is going to generate us a report. Okay, so this is one of the activities that we want to, and now you can see that we have the client scope, we have the client ID, which is important, and you can find that in the definition of the API, and we're going to send a request, and we are basically going to fill out this information, send the request, and hopefully get a response. Let me just get that information. Okay, now you can see that this is my request ID, and this is the information that we're sending. And if we're if we're successful, which we are, you can check basically how the request looked like. And you can see that in headers, we have that authorization bearer and that access token. So this is automatically being mapped out by UiPath. You can see that we didn't put in that information in here. This is automatically being mapped out. So we got the response, and this is really important. What is also important is this ID. So this ID is also important. So if we minimize this, now we can see that there is an input and there are output variables. So this is really important because the next time this is going to show up on our activity. So usually there is just like this one object, but you can basically select what are the fields that you want to be shown. In the activity panel, you can click modify and you can select all of them, but what are the fields that are going to be shown right away? So we need the status, right? That is really important. We need the report ID, and we also need, for example, created at, and that's well, we don't need that. Okay, so that is important, and that's it. Basically, we have configured our one of our activities. So the next activity would be, and let's get that ID. Where is it? So if we open this one, let's take the response. Let me just find it. And the response of the activity. Application ID response. Okay, we're going to use some other ID. So the next activity that we want to define is this get report by ID, and similarly we're going to fill out the necessary information in here, send the connection, and then map out what are we expecting. Okay, and now I have filled out all the necessary information. I'm going to execute this action, and we're going to get all the results. And look at that, we get the URL of a download for the report, and this is our price, right? We want this, and it's important that this status is completed. If like the report takes some time, but like you can play with that. So now we have all the fields, and we're going to generate the report ID, the status, and the URL. So these are the fields that we need because we're going to use that value. We're going to download the report, extract it, and then read the JSON format and get the report that we would usually need to generate through this tool, wait for it, download it, etc., etc. So it's an easier process, definitely. Okay, so what I would do is now, once this is defined, I would probably change the name of the activity to something like get report status. And once that is done, I would basically publish the activities. Because I already have activities published, I'm going to skip this step and I'm going to go directly into the UiPath Studio and show you how to use these activities. So what we did so far, we went through the integration service, we clicked on connection builder, we imported the API definition from various sites. So you can use for Amazon there is various sites, for Walmart there is something different. So we used this definition to import certain actions. We authenticated our integration and we created our connection. So now before you can use these connections, you need to connect to the application. So you can see in here that I already have this connection, but basically I can check my connection. It is successful. If I edit the connection, I don't know if it is going to pop up, but basically it is going to ask for this. So this is what we defined. It is going to ask for us to connect to our Amazon advertisement or some other tools, and we're going to allow it. So now, because we have configured everything correctly, it's going to be a successful connection, and that retry pooling mechanism for the access token is going to be something that we have automatically. Okay, so now these activities are called Amazon Request SP report, right? This is something that we have created. So how do we use these activities? How do we use this? Well, you would go to your UiPath Studio or Studio Web. I'm using Studio in this case. And you would go to the activities. So the easiest way would be that you would go to the activities, you would click here, you would click available, and then you would basically type the name of that activity that you want. So generate SP report was the name of my activity. And if you drag and drop that activity, you would see that the UiPath is pulling the connection directly from integration service. So you can see that this is our Amazon Request SP default connection. This is the connection that we have established, right? It is automatically pulling the client ID and the API scope, which is the partner ID, from the definition. And once you click Manage Properties, you can see that these are actually the fields that we have defined through that call. So we have called it, and then we have received the response, and those are the fields that we can map out. So you can see that these ones that I selected are the ones that I need, basically, and these are the activities that we need to generate the report. So you can select or deselect and deselect whatever you want to. So because I don't want to waste your time, I will show you how that looks like. So let's enable this activity, and I'm going to show you how I mapped it out. So basically, I mean, you can read up the implementation, but you can see that I have configuration add product, configuration format. You can see that sometimes if the definition of an API has like an object, you can add multiple things, and if it is a date, you can select a date, which is really nice. It was really easy to create this activity, so this is a really nice feature because like you can just select whatever you want to, and you can map out the what are the fields that you need. So you don't have to work with the JSON, which can be complex, right? You need to parse the thing, you need to create the query and everything. So in this way, you can just map out the status and map out the report ID, which are the important information that we need, right? So for now, I'm going to run this, and I'm going to show you how the activity works. And we are going to get a report ID, and the status is going to be pending. So that is what we're expecting. And after that, I'm going to show you one more thing, and that is I'm going to call the download activity and actually download the report and show you how does that report look like. So it is something really cool. Okay, now you can see the status is pending and we got this report ID. But we have to use some older report ID because this one is pending, and it is going to be pending for 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. So I have mapped out a default value of some report ID that I have created previously. And I'm going to show you the next activity, which is the download report. You remember that we created one more activity. And this is working a bit slowly. So you remember that we have that get report activity, and you can see that it also has all the fields. So it is required that we get the report ID, the client ID, and the API scope, right? And we are only interested in this URL. Maybe we can also do the status, then like put an if statement, but I know that this file is done. So we're going to take that URL, we're going to send it in this code. So this is a little snippet that I took from Reda, and it's a cool snippet in VBS code to download the files, and that it's really simple. And then we're going to extract that file and show you what is in that file. So let me just save this workflow. Let me open up this one. Let me delete the already downloaded package. Let me save it, the workflow, and run it again. And you will see that it will download the report. So what we did is we managed to connect to Amazon Advertisement API. We managed to create a pooling retry mechanism for the access token, which is really important because it would be complicated to create that through automation. And we were able to create our own activities with customized fields, and we were able to map out those fields and do what we want to do with them. So this enables us such a flexibility, and it is so powerful because you can use whatever API you want to if there aren't any, and UiPath is having a lot of activities, a lot of connections and this one didn't exist, so I created it. So now you can see that this was done. And if we go in here, you can see that this is initial download. So this is actually the URL in the API response. And this is the report that we have generated. So if we go in here and read it, you can see that it's the data that we want to. So date, keyword, targeting, cost, search term, everything that we actually put in the definition of this activity, all of the fields are there. And now you can modify it because like you can put on dynamic start and end date. Previously you couldn't. You can select only for example last 7 days, last 14 days, last 30 days, and you couldn't do maybe less 55 days or less 71 days if you want that value, and using these activities you can. So I really hope that this helped. I know that it was a little bit complex for me and I really want to give back to the community. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and until next time.